Luigi Mangione, the murderer of the moment, has retained a high-powered attorney to represent him in New York. It comes as he remains in custody in Pennsylvania, facing 2 felony charges, forgery and carrying a firearm without a license, and 3 misdemeanors, tampering with records or identification, possessing instruments of crime, and providing false identification to law enforcement. Until now, Luigi has been fighting extradition to New York, where he's facing second-degree murder charges related to the killing of UnitedHealthCare CEO Brian Thompson. But he could waive extradition to New York as early as Tuesday, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg said. Luigi already has a defense lawyer in Pennsylvania, Thomas Dickey, who denies Luigi will be waiving extradition and also reckons there is no evidence against him. Dare I say, he's kind of iconic, like the hair, the tie. This guy has flair. But it's the newest member of Luigi's team who has everybody talking. So just who is Karen Friedman Agnifilo? Is she as high-powered as everyone's saying? And how the heck does Diddy come into all of this? In the criminal justice system, the people are represented by 2 separate yet equally important groups, the police who investigate crime and the district attorneys who prosecute the offenders. These are their stories. Karen Friedman Agnifilo has over 20 years experience at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, you know, where they work in law and order. And guess what? She's also the legal advisor for the show. She's literally a Dick Wolf character in real life. Her career is actually insanely impressive. She's a graduate of the University of California and a 1992 graduate of Georgetown University's Law Center. She's held various positions at the Manhattan DAs, including Chief Assistant District Attorney, Head of the Trial Division, and Deputy Chief of the Sex Crimes Unit. Before her long tenure as a real-life Law and Order character, she worked with former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg as general counsel to overhaul the city's criminal justice policy. Since 2021, she's been in private practice at Agnifilo and Trator, a boutique practice her husband Mark Agnifilo started. Now remember that name because we are coming back to him later. Karen worked as the Chief Assistant District Attorney in the Manhattan DA's office from 2014 to 2021, where she led the prosecution of high-profile cases, including those involving mental health issues and cold case homicides. As the second in command, she stepped up as acting DA when needed and oversaw complex cases and managed a team of around 1,500 people with a $120 million budget. She also helped launch several important units in the office like human trafficking, hate crimes, and cyber crimes, and she played a key role in creating Manhattan's first mental health court. She worked under Cyrus Vance Jr., who's known for going after former film producer / famous gross guy Harvey Weinstein, as well as President-elect Donald Trump. Chief Assistant District Attorney, or Chief ADA, sounds like a very important job. But what actually is it? What does a DA do? Well, if you haven't seen Law & Order, it might sound a bit confusing. Actually, this whole video might sound confusing. But an ADA is basically the lawyer for the prosecution. They represent the state to prosecute criminals, they lead a team of lawyers, and they tell the police stuff like this.
You don't like the evidence I've got? Find me some more. I can't do your job too.
It's a big-ass job, and district attorneys are elected, unlike similar roles in other common law jurisdictions. Karen also served as a CNN legal analyst, and she co-hosts a podcast called Mistrial, which brings in almost 500,000 listeners. According to her website, in private practice since 2021, Ms. Friedman Agnifilo focuses on serving each of her clients' unique and specific needs at the highest level. She has extensive investigatory and trial experience and represents clients in civil and criminal matters in both state and federal courts. She is especially adept at representing plaintiffs in employment disputes, whether they proceed to trial or are resolved quietly before a complaint is ever filed. If you have a browse through the results tab on her website, it seems like she mostly covers fraud and assault cases, and there is one in there about horse doping, which I'm quite interested in. Her husband, Mark, is currently leading the legal defense for Sean Diddy Combs, who's accused of sex trafficking, racketeering, and physical abuse against his former partner Cassie Ventura, among many other civil suits and allegations. So the 2 biggest cases in the world right now, I cannot imagine the chats they have at home, eh? Imagine that. Suffice to say, it sounds like Karen knows what she's doing. An experienced New York prosecutor told CNN, she's got as much experience as any human being, especially in the state court. She knows every corridor, every judge, every clerk in the courthouse. But what will Luigi's defense actually be? Well, we don't really know yet. According to former prosecutors and legal experts, forensic forensic and ballistic evidence that police say ties the accused murderer to the crime scene will make it difficult for his lawyers to mount a defense. At this stage, Karen has refused to comment, but Thomas Dickey, Luigi's other lawyer, earlier told local media he had not seen any evidence yet implicating his client. Mr. Dickey also says his client will likely be pleading not guilty to all charges. Mitchell Etner, a New York-based lawyer and former prosecutor, told the BBC that there were two approaches that Luigi could take if he pleads not guilty. Defense number one is, "It wasn't me," and defense number two is, "It wasn't me, but I shouldn't be punished because of X," he said. Mr. Etner said that the publicly known evidence so far means denying responsibility is out the window. Another criminal defense attorney, Professor Dmitry Shaknovich, said Luigi's attorney could also, in theory, argue that an impaired mental status makes him unfit to stand trial. That defense is slightly different from an insanity plea, in which his team could argue that he's not responsible for his actions because of some mental disorder, defect, something. There's also questions floating around about who's funding all of this. I mean, obviously Karen seems like she'd be a pretty expensive hire. Mr. Dickey has declined to say if Luigi's family are fronting his legal bills, but he did say members of the public had offered to contribute. Supporters of Luigi have now donated over $100,000 to his defense funds, including an anonymous fund called December 4th Legal Committee on crowdfunding website GiveSendGo. A representative for Karen declined to comment on who is paying Luigi's legal fees. As the story heats up and the stakes get higher, all eyes are on new character Karen Friedman Agnifilo. With her experience and connection, she's definitely got the skills to handle whatever comes her way. But will that be enough to tip the scales in Luigi's favor, or will the evidence just be too much to overcome? We'll just have to wait and see. One thing's for sure, Dick Wolf is going to be all over this. SVU ripped from the headlines episode 2025. Anyone? What are we thinking? Keep an eye on this one.